American Electric Power stock AEP hammered down 23% on the 1-year chart. However, the Intrendias terminal determines AEP as a buy. AEP is an electric utility company in the U.S. serving 5 million customers across Ohio, Texas, Appalachian Mountain region, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, and other states. AEP return on equity has been decreasing from 14% to 8.6%. These most recent figures are below the industrial average. The utility industry average ROE is 11% compared to AEP's 8.6. The ROA and ROC are more comparable, but AEP is still lower nonetheless. Perhaps this justifies AEP's lower valuation. AEP's forward PE is 13.6 compared to the average of 19. This is a 5x difference. AEP's EV to EBITDA is a 3x difference compared to industry average. Though solely comparing the return ratios with the valuation metrics is not sufficient data to justify AEP's lower valuation to its competitors. This lower valuation metrics could be a good opportunity for value investing. The difference between forward PE and trailing PE has been increasing. Forward PE is down while trailing is up. This can be the result of a couple things. First is earnings expectation. A decreasing forward PE suggests that analysts and investors are expecting lower earnings in the future, while an increasing trailing PE indicates that earnings over the past year have been rising. This could mean that recent earnings have been strong, but there are concerns or uncertainties about the company's future earning prospects. Market sentiment. It might reflect a shift in market sentiment. An increasing trailing PE could be due to a recent surge in the stock's price, possible driven from short-term factors like hype and speculation. Meanwhile, a decreasing forward PE might suggest that investors are becoming more cautious about the company's long-term growth potential. And the third is risk assessment. A widening gap between forward and PE trailing can also be an indication of increased risk. Investors may be willing to pay a premium for recent strong earnings, but they are less optimistic about the company's ability to sustain said earnings in the future. Finally, we have valuation. From a valuation perspective, a stock with a decreasing forward PE may be attractive if you believe that the lower future earnings expectations are too conservative. Conversely, a stock with an increasing trailing PE may seem overvalued if you think recent earnings are unsustainable, similar to what we said earlier about deep value. That being said, let's look at the Intrendias terminal and see what the algorithm suggests. Welcome back to the Intrendias terminal. Here I entered the stock ticker AEP and entered a start date and end date. I'm doing 2018 to today, 2023, and I selected the buy and sell signals option. This results in the buy and sell signals for AEP. If I were to double click on the legend, I'll get all the output, and you have access to this terminal for free. Just go to Intrendias right there, wixsite.com. If I double click on trace, I'll just get the close, the candlestick chart, and then I'm going to select buy and sell signals so that we're back to where we were. I'm going to zoom in on 2023 here, and we could see that September 8th, 2023 was the most recent buy signal here. And we could also see some technical analysis oscillators towards the bottom of the screen. We see that the plus DI has recently crossed the negative DI, which is a bullish move for the DMI. We're seeing volume relatively stable throughout 2022, 2023. No crazy moves there. We're seeing the OBV pass the EMA 20 line, which could serve as a bullish move as we see positive volume enter the stock here. The MACD line has also recently done a bullish cross, so that's also a good sign. William percent R was recently below the oversold line there, end of August, so that's also a good sign. RSI recently below 30, that's also a good sign. And keep in mind, this is very rudimentary ways of reading these technical analysis oscillators. There's many other topics like divergence that we could cover in different videos, but just the rundown here. CCI, Commodity Channel Index, recently below the oversold line, and same with stochastic. So we're seeing some decent rudimentary readings for these technical analyses here, and we see a strong conclusion from the backtest, 90% compared to the bought and held 9%. So from a technical algorithmic standpoint, AEP looks pretty good. Um, Earlier in the video, discussing the fundamentals where the forward PE is decreasing while the trailing PE is increasing. That fundamental piece doesn't look so hot for AEP, unfortunately. So there's some mixed signals here. Um, Finally, with the return on equity, we did see some of the return ratios performing lower than the industry average. So that piece of the fundamentals is also not in AEP's favor, especially with how much debt AEP is facing. Seems like a good chunk of those utility companies do have a lot of debt on their books, unfortunately. So if you're incurring so much debt, you would love to see a high return on capital or asset, or whichever one you're looking at. You'd rather have a larger ratio because you want that debt to be put to good use, right? So one of the articles from Simply Wall Street, I think they put it best here with American Electric Power's debt and its ROE, saying that it's quite low, and you would prefer that this significant debt be put to better use here, seeing a bigger ROE. Fortunately, we're not seeing a large one. So fundamentally, not the hottest stock. However, in terms of the technical side, this stock does look pretty interesting to me, especially when we're returning stock price, returning back to 2020 COVID lows, um, which is quite interesting. Perhaps this may be an overreaction or something worse brewing in the future. Who knows what will happen? Uh, I could see myself adding a small position in AEP solely for the buy signal, and me just personally as the creator, having trust in the system and seeing what happens. But I'm curious to see your thoughts on AEP. A new feature that I did add to the Intrendias terminal is a pricing forecast. We could forecast the stock price here, and it says start to end date must be 21 months or less. I added this little footnote here because in this example here, as I let the terminal spin out, um, usually websites by default, if the callback or user request takes longer than 30 seconds, it'll just spun out. So right there was a good example of it spinning out and not actually succeeding in returning a result. So just ensure that your start date and end date are 21 months or less. And so I'm going to type in 2022, and that should be good. So this is going to actually run through a Python algorithm that is going to spit out a GARC um, forecasting model, and then it will also use a linear regression model based on the stock price, and it's going to try to predict what the percent change in the stock is in the next 90 days. So here we see the stock close candlestick chart there, and then I'm going to click on forecast in Intrendias GARC, and linear regression. So here we see that the terminal suggests that the linear regression is quite bullish, and so is GARC, a little bit less, but still going up no less. The forecast Intrendias is basically a blend of GARC and linear regression, so kind of like the middleman between the two, to give a more conservative approach to the model. So we could see Intrendias forecasts a $85 a share by December here. So uh, forecast is looking good, and the buy and sell signals are also looking pretty good. So I'm pretty interested in AEP. Again, I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. Let me know what other stocks you think I should be looking at. Uh, at least in utilities, I have Dominion Energy and PPL. So I think AEP will be a smaller position just solely on the basis of I don't want to be overly exposed in utilities. Um, I think recently, I think I've been exposed in the meat and packaging and food industry a little bit because I'm still holding on to ConAgra brands, KHC, and Campbell's Soup. So unfortunately, those are laggers. Those are unrealized losses currently in my portfolio. However, I'm still very confident in my positions there, and I'll happily collect the dividend along the way, right? Um, so again, love to hear your thoughts. I hope you enjoy this new feature that I added here, allowing you to see the forecast and buy sell signals. So love to hear feedback, love to hear your thoughts about it. Thank you for watching Intrendias, and I will see you guys in the next one.